Hiya, welcome to TableTalk Friday, your weekly dose of D&D banter between three men in a bedroom. If you like their style, please give them a follow on whichever podcast service you prefer, and come back every Friday for another upload. Now, I'll send it over to them. So yesterday, listen.
Oh, no.
We've been over many times the fact that I work at a gym with a lot of little kids. Now, yesterday I am teaching the advanced class. There are a lot of really talented kids that are probably going to be on Ninja Warrior next year, the year after when they get old enough to be on Junior. But that's not what this story is about. I'm teaching these kids, right? We're having a great time. It's amazing. They're all learning things, accomplishing new things. I'm proud of all 5 of the kids I was teaching yesterday. And I hear behind me a blood-curdling scream, as if someone had been stabbed. I thought someone broke their leg, broke their arm. It sounded like a kid screaming like they had been stabbed, and I was like, oh no. So I turn around, and I see 2 parents, Fit Mom Eric and Ninja Warrior Dad Eric,
Perfect.
standing next to the airbag laughing. And I was like, well, if someone broke their bone, they couldn't possibly be laughing. And this blood-curdling scream is still going on for 15 seconds. And then I notice where it's coming from. There's one kid standing on the airbag. We have 2 right next to each other, very close to one another, and there's a little separator in between, except for sort of in the corners where there are little slots for if me or someone else needs to go down in there and fix something. One of the kids that was on the airbag in one of my friend's classes fell in between that crack. And was in a very nice bright area and is now in a dark place. And he is running back and forth, and they're like, where am I? Where am I? And I see my buddy go over onto the airbag, Buddy Eric. And he's like, it's gonna be okay. It's gonna be okay. And he reaches down and has to pull this kid out of the crevice, but he can't get a hold of him because this kid is freaking out so much he's running back and forth. And then when he finally gets his hand, pulls him back onto the airbag, the kid acts like nothing happened. He just disturbed the peace for 30 solid seconds of just, oh my God! Where am I? Where am I? and then ended it. He comes out. Nothing has happened. He is not crying. He is not upset. He is just back to normal, as if he just got here.
This kid's a psychopath.
Okay, now I will say this kid. I've taught him many classes, and if his physical body is in one place, his brain is 3 feet to the right. So he's a very spacey kid. I don't think there's anything actually mentally wrong with him or anything. I just think he's a very spaced out kid. And so he fell between the airbag because he wasn't paying attention where he was walking.
Jeez.
And
well, what are you to do, Seth?
And every time I think back to the sound he made and the fact that he was just in a bright place to a dark place in less than a second, I can't help but laugh. It's the funniest thing.
So you said his brain's always 3 feet to the right, so
Yeah.
I imagine him running just really lopsided.
Yeah.
Just with his feet straight out in front of him.
I have this one kid who I tested for advanced class today. We'll call him advanced class Eric. Who literally fell into one of our big inflatable circular donuts and flopped around like a fish, because I was like, does he not know what his body's doing right now or where he's at? Because he passed the advanced test, but then he goes and crosses one bridge and then jumps into this donut and just hits himself in the stomach and is just hanging there, and he's trying to get out, but instead of using his hands or feet, he's trying to use just his body. He's just going flopping around in it like a fish, and me and Buddy Eric are just crying laughing because there's nothing you can do when someone I'm like, dude, please just have concerns for your own safety. The fact that you could fall at any moment. Why are you flopping like a fish? Just put your hands on it. Just pick yourself up. He's plenty strong to pick himself up.
Right.
Maybe he's onto something. Maybe it's actually the meta.
No, I wish I had the security footage to show you, because it was some of the things I saw today and yesterday are the funniest moments I've had at my job.
Well, at any time that you attempt to attribute common sense to a child, just don't. They
I
don't
know.
have common sense. They
He's
have
12
uncommon sense.
Yeah, so the one that fell in between the airbag he's a junior, so he's 7 years old. He did obviously you don't attribute that to common sense. He just fell and it was very funny. But for the other one, he's like 12. Like at this point, like sometimes the way he moves, I'm like, oh, he's okay with breaking a leg. I mean, this is also the same kid who fell off of the swoop slider like very recently, and he cracked his own sternum with his chin because he fell just like
What?
right into a way where he like slammed his chin down into his chest and cracked his own sternum, and he had to leave for like 3 weeks to let it heal.
How hard do you have to swing your own chin into your own chest?
It's just like body awareness. It's like, he's just kind of like throwing himself around, and a lot of times he's successful. He's not bad. Like he's pretty good at ninja, but a lot of times he throws himself around and just things like that happen.
I think that sounds almost freeing in a way to just say, yeah, I'm going to flail wildly.
Yeah. Or like when he starts to lose his balance on a balance rail, instead of readjusting, breathing slowly and like adjusting his balance, he'll just full speed try to sprint across the rails to get to the end. Like, oh, if I I only have a couple seconds before I lose my balance. If I can get to the end in that time, I make it.
Yeah.
And a lot of times he trips and falls on the rails and hurts himself. And then other times he's successful. But for me, like, I know anytime, like, you lay 10 rails out in front of me, I can do them every time because I'll just breathe calmly and go. So he's like hit or miss, or else he's just going to trip and fall and hurt himself.
See, I'm really glad I work in an office setting because the idea of being in that environment where there are people just throwing themselves around and breaking their own bones with people's faces, that sounds terrifying.
His own face.
Absolutely
Please.
horrifying. Like,
Oh, your office isn't like that?
no, not usually. No, that's more of like a Thursday afternoon kind of a vibe, you know?
Right, after work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Mhm.
You understand.
Yeah, but the title Ninja Coach is kind of badass.
It is cool. It definitely is cool. I'll give you that. It's a pretty solid title. You should add executive in the front.
Executive Ninja Coach.
Yeah,
that
sounds
is
so
pretty
much
cool.
better.
That is pretty cool. Well, we can talk about D&D now, I guess. Now that I've told my my airbag story, I can't help but laugh at it. It's so funny to me, like just thinking about the blood curdling scream. And with that, welcome to Table Talk Friday, where this week we are going to talk about house rules, things that you may do at the table that are against what the rule book says, different than what the rule book says, or maybe a rule you made up because there wasn't a rule for it already. We have a couple that we use, not very many, and there are many known out there that other DMs, other like influencers and whatnot have used as well. How are you boys doing today?
I'm great, Seth. Thanks for asking.
Of course.
I'm doing awesome. No children were harmed at my workplace today, so that's a positive.
You know, I don't think anyone got hurt today, so that's good.
Good.
I almost snapped my ankles once, but that's beside the point.
Both of them at the same time?
Yes, because I was doing like those vertical jumps I showed you earlier,
Mhm.
And I landed really badly on my ankles. Both of them at the same time.
Wow, that sounds like a lasting injury that you might roll for. I was going to cite the page from the DMG, but I don't have it.
Right.
We can add it in post. You'll definitely remember to do that, right, Seth?
Yes, page 152 right here. That's what I've said, something that I recalled. So this has been edited in.
That's great. Thank you.
Seth, just make sure you add the link right here where I'm pointing.
www.ex4323.com.
That's it.
Click right there. Right. I'm pointing.
That's awesome, Drew, because this is an audio podcast with zero visual elements.
Well, they can just click wildly until they hit something.
Ah,
Yeah,
that'll
that's
kinda
true.
work.
that's good advice,
Okay.
just in general.
So lasting injuries is a house rule we have, or not necessarily a house rule, I guess. It's in the DMG, right?
Yeah, so there's a lot of things in the DMG. I would consider pretty much any variant rule like a house rule,
Right.
because even if it's in the book, that's definitely not a like a standard thing to do. I mean, a great example of like a house rule that gets confused for just a rule would be use of feats. I've never been at a
Right.
table where everyone's saying no feats. We're just doing ability score increases. Don't want you to get too powerful now.
Right.
But yeah, so the lasting injuries
Lastering.
table. Yeah, the lasting injuring table. They don't give you like a great guideline for how exactly these injuries should come up. They give you suggestions like maybe on a crit, or maybe if they take more than half their health in a single hit, or something like that. But it's entirely up to the DM to determine when this goes off. And at our table, we don't usually use lasting injuries except when it makes like narrative sense.
Right.
Or when using one of my favorite house rules, which was Fighting Spirit.
Yes, that was fun.
Yep. So that's going to be the first thing that I talk about because
Sure, go ahead.
I feel like it. So if you Google it, I think it was the Angry GM first came up with this idea where basically you've got a number of hit points. So at first level, you would have your regular number of hit points, but in addition to that, you also have the same amount of hit points, but they're called Fighting Spirit. So essentially, every time you level up, you basically get double your regular hit points, but once you drop below your Fighting Spirit, you take on this secondary state. I forget. Oh, Dispirited.
Yes.
That's what it's called.
Oh, yeah.
But basically, you have disadvantage on attacks, and creatures have advantage against your saves. So basically, you're just in this state where it's time to retreat, and you're no longer fighting. So I liked this system specifically. I don't think it's great for every table, but I like it as a DM because then you can do a low-level adventure with very high-level monsters, and even if the characters are not well-equipped enough to kill the monsters, you can feel confident enough that they probably won't die.
Right. Or an adventure meant for like 3 or 4 players with 2 people.
Yep, which is what we did. We ran through the, I'm forgetting the name, but it's the
Eberron.
Yeah, artifacts, whatever, hidden artifacts or whatever. The short 1 to 2 in the Eberron Rising from the Last War book.
Yes.
Yeah.
Very, very fun adventure. I can say that the characters that Drew and I played in that were some of the favorite characters that I think we've ever had in D&D. Loved them to death. And Fighting Spirit was very fun, especially for a 2-person group. It was only Drew and I playing as in this campaign that Zach was running. We ran it for, 5 or 6 sessions?
Yeah, and we definitely went off the, it only took us maybe 2 sessions to get through what was in the book. So we expanded and kept going, but lost steam somewhere along the way there. But yeah, it was a lot of fun, especially because I think you were 3rd level through the whole thing. I don't think I ever had you guys level up.
No, I think we started at 2nd.
I think we definitely leveled up at least one time.
Okay. Yeah. Well, so in any case, you were all very low level, though, and I said, well, you've got double your total hit points, and once you become dispirited, you can heal or, find ways out of death. So I didn't pull any punches. I just said, okay, well, in the book it says there are 6 bandits that you have to fight right now. You're going to fight 6 bandits, 2 characters. And even with the action economy, it did work out. I also, leveled you guys up a little bit. I think you were supposed to be 1st level through pretty much the whole thing. But
yeah, it was nice to have the spells and abilities we were supposed to have for it.
Yeah.
Which I will say, playing a mastermind rogue, maybe not the most optimal thing to do when there's only 2 of you, but it was super fun because we played Glitch and Agent 9-9, and I was a mastermind rogue, and you were a Tempest cleric.
Tempest cleric, the best subclass.
Yeah, and it was super fun. He was the front liner. I would stay back and try to dodge as much as possible and use the help action on him to give him extra steam in his close combat. It was very fun. I had some of my most fun D&D moments in those Eberron sessions before we got into Avernus.
Yep. And so we weren't using Fighting Spirit exactly as it was laid out by the Angry GM. I did do my own tweaking. So the thing that I added was lasting injuries. So if you drop to 0 hit points, period, you take a lasting injury, and we roll for it on the table.
Right.
And I believe if you take a certain amount of damage also while you're in your dispirited state, you also, run the risk of a lasting injury, which includes things like, you lose a hand, you lose an eye, you get permanently scarred in some disfiguring way that makes you off-putting to people when they see you.
Right.
So a lot of stuff at stake. I don't think either of you took a single lasting injury.
No.
But we definitely had the opportunity for it.
Which, scars and stuff are cool because we were both playing Warforged. So imagining spots where our armor had been chinked and remended is just really cool. and or just like getting disfigured in some way as like a robotic character. Just sounds really cool to me. Like maybe you have like a shattered eye that's been like
that'd be
kind
cool.
of put back together. Like you can still see normally, but like this one is kind of broken up. Like I don't know, it just sounds cool.
Yeah, no, that's super cool.
I think it worked well specifically with the setting because I really liked the idea of the effects on the Warforged specifically. Just having the power down or bug out, having little sparks shoot out.
Right.
I thought it worked better and like, oh, well, we need repairs and just like running away rather than just getting beaten down.
Yeah.
You know?
So, fighting spirit is one of the many house rules we've gone with. I would say a house rule that I think some people use, some people don't. Just a rule that is in the book as well. Would be flanking, something that we don't use at all. Like we tested it out a little bit with in our first campaign, where there were some flanking rules back in the day, and then whenever I started running Storm Kings and whenever like other campaigns came up, we just decided no flanking at all.
It doesn't feel, in my opinion, I don't think it sits right with me to. It's just too easy to get it to go off in your favor every single time. Whereas a DM could use it against their players, but then they'd be getting hit every single time.
Right.
So it just doesn't make sense to, there's a give and take to it, but ultimately the players are going to run out of hit points faster than the DM's going to run out of monsters.
Right. And something that is along those same lines that plays into a different scenario with it is our crit rule that we go with. So, same idea. We don't have flanking in the game, okay? But we do use a new crit rule. In Storm King's Thunder, what we used to do is we would do the normal crit rules. You roll the dice, double what they say on them. That's it. But now we do more of like a brutal critical. I think that's a good title for it, right?
Sure.
So what we do is whenever you roll a nat 20, whether it's the enemies or whether it's the players, they get their maximum amount of dice damage for free. So like if you're rolling 66s, they get 36 damage of that damage type. And then they roll the dice on top of it and add it in. It makes the crits, I feel more valuable. Whereas sometimes, in the past, if we get a nat 20 on like a firebolt and roll a 1 and then roll a 3, and now they've done 4 damage with their crit. Well, that's not satisfying.
Not at
but
all.
Now, if you roll it with a firebolt at low levels, you're getting 10 automatically plus whatever you roll on the die. Much more valuable for a critical hit.
And it, it just feels more exciting.
Yes.
And what I love about it is it also makes combat feel just so much more suspenseful.
Yes.
Because anytime Seth gets a crit, he'll look at you and he'll have that look in his eyes, and all of a sudden you'll think, am I going to die?
Yeah.
I have full health. Am I going to die?
I got a crit in the last session that took one of our players, a level 11 character, from full health down to I think it was 13 or 11 hit points, and I was like, wow, I really did that, didn't I? Not in a good way. I was just like, oh gosh, I really did that, didn't I?
Yeah. And so at our table, I should also specify, it should be obvious, but we don't do the crit rule. I'm not sure if this is rules as written or just how some tables do it, where you only double the weapons damage die and ignore all other features. Just because, like, where's the fun in that?
Yeah.
If a rogue gets a crit, they need to add all their sneak attack on top of that. If a paladin gets their divine smite,
I
let them
like
crit it.
having the nuke damage option, and it's not like if you crit my boss, right, and you deal over 100 damage, super cool, glad you did it, like nice job. I'm probably not gonna have combat end too early anyways. No one's saying that you're gonna come in and kill the boss in one hit. And usually combat is going to take 2 to 3 turns. Maybe if you're fighting like a really big boss, 4 or 5 turns. So if we're on turn like 3 at this point and you get a huge crit on my boss and kill it, I'm like, cool. Like maybe you killed it a turn early. That's okay. Like I want you guys to feel super powerful anyways. Like whenever those moments come up, we're not always going to have moments where you do feel super powerful. Sometimes there's going to be moments where people are going down or like someone's on the verge of death. And we do have those moments, but I really like it whenever you guys get to have that moment. Like we have a character right now who is basically going to be based around hopefully getting that critical.
Pretty much.
who just came in, where he's a rogue paladin multi-class. So with that sneak attack on top and being able to divine smite, plus he's got the ability to use like a bonus action smite with it, and like a booming blade. I mean, you're getting a lot of damage in one turn.
Yeah.
A lot of damage. And the booming blade factor does play against him a little bit in the fact that he has to be on top of the monster to get that damage off. So a rogue being on top of a dragon is going to be, could be bad news for him a lot of times. He runs up, goes for that huge stab. Okay, he got 40, 50 damage off in one hit, but he's in front of a dragon now.
Right, and he just used Booming Blade, so he can't disengage, cunning action.
Yeah.
So there's that too. But it's a super awesome character.
Yeah.
He did so much damage to that hollow dragon that we fought.
Yes.
The coolest monster from Fizbins.
It's very cool.
Put Oswin to shame.
Which I think crazy seeing or hearing this from an outside perspective, because I've never talked about this homebrew rule out loud, I don't think. It sounds really strong. It sounds like something I probably wouldn't implement at my table, but I've played with it, and I, for a fact, have had those crits, especially as a rogue, a very high-level rogue in our last campaign, where I crit, and I just got poopy rolls. And I just feel really, really sad, like, oh, wow, the crit didn't do anything for me, And to get rid of that feeling and maximize that suspense, that excitement when you roll that 20, it really, really builds the mood of the whole table, I feel like.
Oh, yeah.
And from the other perspective, the boss, when they hit you with that 20, it's going to hit 10 times harder.
Oh, yeah, and whenever I've had to roll it against you guys, I mean, I get scared whenever I roll the nat 20, and I've mentioned it before where I'm like, well, I'm not going to fudge this. Like, I got a nat 20. I'm going to roll the nat 20. Granted, sometimes there are ways for like it to be defended. Someone could like uncanny dodge it or get around that damage a little bit. But a lot of times, I'm rolling that 20 and I'm like, okay, are you gonna use a reaction? Okay, no, okay, then I'm gonna roll my damage, and it was a nat 20. And I'll wait for that now because there were times in like the previous campaigns where like a reaction would come up, and I'd be like, I rolled a nat 20. They're like, no, I am gonna use it now, and I'm like, well, I don't really like that. I want it to be like, you're going to use a reaction if you're getting hit. You don't know that the hit's going to be a nat 20 right away.
Mm-hmm.
That was something that, like, I've moved that around a little bit as we've been playing. Just because I was like, okay, not everything can be like rainbows and puppies and unicorns all the time. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I almost like the unspoken rule where, okay, I'm giving you this option. If you can tell it on my face that it's a nat 20, good for you.
Yeah.
But
it also could be a nat 1.
Yeah, but I'm going to try and poker face it right now.
Yeah, a lot of times I'll pull it out. I'll be like, okay, are you going to use a reaction? Like, I'll pull that out in combat a lot now if you guys haven't noticed. Where I'll be like, all right, are you going to use a reaction? No. I don't have any reactions. Okay, then I'm just going to do the rest of the turn. Here we go. Which, when Pyth is there and I go to roll a die and he goes, actually, 1. And I go, beans, because he's got Portent.
Divination wizards, boy, they're so cool.
They're very cool. Or like, okay, he's going to be rolling with advantage. Restore balance.
I ain't feeling that.
Jeez. Not really feeling the advantage today.
That's the Clockwork Soul sorcerer, yeah?
Yeah.
I think it's called Clockwork Soul, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Very cool multi-class. I'll give you that.
Mm-hmm.
The coolest is no big deal or anything.
Yeah, divination and clockwork. Jeez.
I haven't thought about this enough, but I always multi-class every time I play a character. I have not yet with Oswin, and Drew never multi-classes, and he's been loving it as Pyth. So that's
it's
just
fun.
an interesting fact. I don't have anywhere to go with this.
So I am typically along Drew's lines. Like, I lean towards not multi-classing. I just want to like have all my cool level 20 abilities when I get there. But whenever we played Curse of Strahd, I ended up multi-classing because multi-classing, a rule you can decide whether or not to let your characters use. We definitely allow multi-classing. If you can break your character, I'm totally happy for you to do it because I'm going to break my dragon when I throw it at you. So you have a lot of fun. Like, when you guys are like, oh, we're making powerful characters, we're doing this, I'm usually just like, okay, we're going to have a really hard encounter then. Like, have fun. Then that's when you guys end up fighting Kostichi, Nedril, and the Hezro at one time.
Great time.
Not multi-classing? I've actually never heard of that from a table. Have you guys been at tables where the DM or players will not allow you to multi-class?
Nah, but I've seen Reddit posts about it.
Yeah, I mean, it really just depends on what kind of DM you are. I could see it for like new players. just not wanting to clutter the options. And, I almost feel like if everyone's new at the table, it's maybe a good rule to say, all right, we're going to do no variant rules just so everyone gets a feel of, what their options are. And then once we've played a few games, then we can expand to, all right, let's do Xanathars, let's do Tashas, let's do feats and multiclassing, the works. But I think it could be disheartening for like a new player if one person at the table read all the variant rules and said, yeah, I'm going to be a variant human and I'm multiclassing and, I've got a feat at level 1. And this other player, also at level 1, just doesn't know about any of that. Just, feeling like
so they
I
have
didn't
sneak attack.
Yeah, exactly. I didn't get any good options.
Because let's
could
be
see the
honest,
reason.
having all the access to all the variant rules does mean you can make a more powerful character. A
Absolutely.
lot of times. Now, I'm not saying there aren't some like straight rolled characters that you can't like game around a little bit with and make like a really cool, powerful character, but having access to those variant rules, knowing about them, and then like playing on the strengths of them, like I think Zach and Sean are our best example of like, oh, I have this great idea for how to like make a broken character. Seth, do you care? And I'm like, I don't care at all. Like, cause I'm more of like the go with the flow kind of guy where you make the cool character, and I'm like, all right, let's do it. Like, let's do it and go around it. I just want to see what it's like because I also want to see your cool character you came up with.
I think having those really cool, powerful builds can be an absolute blast. But thinking back to when I was new and I was sitting in my dorm room and Seth was showing me how to make a rogue, as all players do when they first start off.
Best class.
The idea that I can pick not one but 2 classes would have broken my brain.
Yeah.
It wouldn't work.
It would have been like, oh wait, I have to learn all the rules for this one class, and if I want to do another one, I can.
No, thank you.
No, thank you.
That's
No.
way too much. Way too much. As a matter of fact, do you guys mention multiclassing at a lower level to players? Because
Well,
usually it doesn't even come up.
I would say I've mentioned it a little bit, like here and there, normally, but normally if I'm starting with a new group, no, I'm not telling them about multiclassing. Like, if someone asks, like, hey, can I multiclass? I'll say, yeah, but we're starting at level 1, so later.
Can I take half level in Paladin?
Which,
Yeah, I want lay on hands, but I also want sneak attack. Can I just like, half class it?
I've thought about this a little bit, but geez, I was in the middle of my train of thought and then the train crashed.
You were trying to think if you wanted like a D4 sneak attack and like a D3
I got
of
it.
healing hands.
Whenever I've multiclassed in the past, it's usually along the lines of the story. I'm not planning it from the get-go. Normally, I'm like, I would like to play this character. I'm going to start out level 3 with this subclass, and if I decide to multiclass later, I will. It's not usually a part of my build when I start the game. I'm like, oh, I'm really feeling wizard for this campaign. For instance, is what I did in Curse of Strahd. And then as I found out along the lines, I was starting to fill a more roguish role in the party as the Blade Singer. So I'm like, proficient with my rapier. I'm sneaking around. I'm casting invisibility on myself and doing a little bit of solo stuff here and there. And I was like, it might be really helpful if I'm gonna be playing as this kind of like up close wizard to have some rogue levels in there. So I got up enough levels to do cunning action. Because I was like, okay, it's nice to be able to bonus action disengage with my 40-foot movement speed as a Blade Singer.
Yeah, it was kind of gross. Very, very good multiclass. And one more level, you would have gotten Arcane Trickster.
Yep. And then I would have gotten some more cool spells and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Multiclassing is scary though. It really is. I love the idea of going straight through a class and getting the really high capstone abilities and getting those cool things that no one ever sees. And the idea of accidentally breaking it and ruining something and missing out on a really cool ability because I multiclass.
The thing is, I understand that for casters, but a lot of the other classes get their best abilities at like level 14. So taking 3 to 5 levels in another class isn't really a big deal because the best ability you got is probably your 14th level one. So and I'm not saying that for every class. Others and subclasses as well will get like cool abilities at like 17 and 19 or whatever. So there are exceptions, but a lot of times those like super high level things are things that I'm like, I don't really need that.
Yeah, and just to sing the praises of multiclassing, there are some great options that you can get online pretty early with multiclassing that just like, well, why would I want this level 20 ability from Paladin when I've got 3 levels in Paladin, 8 levels in Sorcerer, and I can Divine Smite as much as I want.
Yeah, I mean, that's true.
Jeez, what a powerful ability.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I didn't even think about how like I could take a ton of levels in Sorcerer and just like get massive Divine Smites off all the time. But you have to have a strength-based Sorcerer at that point. Or I mean, you guess you could have a Dex-based one.
Or
but
you could be Morwyn Aloro.
yes.
So
Fun times.
Good question for multiclassing then. If we're talking about house rules, right? You can go across classes. Would you ever perceive the idea of crossing into multiple subclasses at your table?
What do you mean? Like,
So taking a couple levels of Assassin Rogue, but then multiclassing also into Arcane Trickster.
I've definitely thought about it. I don't think that that's a great option for low-level play, but like maybe if you're level 20 and we're just trying to find ways for you guys to, keep improving, taking a second subclass is like an epic boon or something like that. I think that'd be appropriate, but
yeah,
not-
I would say that I guess you could multi-class into something like that, but I wouldn't say, like you can be level 3 Arcane Trickster, then level 4 take the Thief abilities too. I wouldn't say you could do that. I would say you would have to go through the class again, and then you would be losing abilities at that point.
It's true.
From the get-go, I would say. Like you're saying, a level 20 plus, sure. We can make that work. Like, here, take the Thief ability. No problem as a level up. Cool. Or, like, let them pick and choose along the line of Rogue. Like, hey, you can take this ability, but you have to make it make sense. It has to be themed correctly about something like you've learned as the character. But, yeah, like you said, for low-level play, I just don't see it being that valuable.
maybe go ahead.
No, I agree. I don't think it's the most optimal by any means. But at first glance, when you first start thinking about it, it promotes more ways to break the game. It gives you more builds, more things for your players to absolutely smash the DM's bosses with. So I understand people's apprehension to it. It also doesn't make a whole lot of sense, and it's not really a correct way to do it per se.
I mean,
but it's an
realistically,
interesting
there's
thought.
no reason that an Assassin Rogue can't learn some Arcane Trickster abilities. So there's no real reason for it, like why you couldn't do those things. It's just that that's your subclass. So if my player was willing to sacrifice like those first couple levels again and be like, I'm gonna take 7 levels of Assassin Rogue and get like whatever ability is there, and then go back and take 3 more levels for Thief, I'd say they can do it. Sure, if you want to waste 3 levels until you get to the Thief abilities again, sure. Like, go ahead.
You see, I almost could see giving out a separate subclass ability as a feat. Maybe.
Okay.
It's but then you have to pick and choose because some of them are way stronger than others.
Right, like it wouldn't make sense to say, yeah, you're an Arcane Trickster now and your spells level up. Like, if you want a cantrip and 2 spells, fine, knock yourself out, kid. That's Magic Initiate, basically. Yeah. But for some of these, even giving Divine Smite at, well, no, that's not a subrace. But like additional. Actually, the more I think about it, the more I'm on board with it. But
that's what I'm saying. Like,
yeah.
I wouldn't be against it, but a lot of times I'm like, unless you have one very particular build in mind, and I'm all for you breaking the game, but I want your character to feel balanced to everyone else's characters too. Like, obviously, Python and Keeley aren't as strong in like fighting combat as Oswin and Adonis and Varys are, but they are meant as like supporting characters. They're meant to make those people stronger. So I don't have a problem with the fact that they're a little bit weaker, like on hits. And even so, a lot of times you can have Pyth pull out a double banishment and banish 2 of the biggest enemies in combat because they're from a different plane of existence, and it's like, oh shit! Like you just made this encounter really easy.
Destroyed them in 1 spell. You did.
So yeah, he basically dealt 200 hit points, and just by maintaining concentration on banishment. Because they were Vrox. They had over 100 hit points each.
Which is why support characters are really cool, because you underestimate them for a little bit. And
Yeah.
then they have some really cool power move that's just super uber cool.
But when it comes to like, that is why I'm glad that our frontliners are the characters that they are, because you guys are good at making stronger characters that kind of match each other. So like Newt and Oswin, I felt like we're on par with each other most of the time in combat, where it's like, each of them is dealing 40 to 50 hit points a turn, it's fine.
I feel like all of our roles at the table balance really well. Like I trust Zach to be on the battlefield defending me and making sure I don't take enough damage. And I imagine Zach probably trusts me to control the battlefield a little bit to make sure it's a little more balanced in our favor.
Right.
Yeah, and that's an interesting thing. Has nothing to do with homebrew rules, but I do feel like at our table, we definitely, even if we're not playing a class anything like what we typically play, we do have typical play styles where we'll act in a certain way and we'll play in a certain way, even if I'm not a spellcaster anymore or I'm not a paladin anymore. But I'll still, take a defensive stance and make sure that everyone is, well tended to. I think I'm a paladin player even if I'm not playing a paladin.
Right.
Where, yeah, I've got healing. Yeah, I've got, options to make sure that if anyone is, on the brink of death, unless they want to die, I'm not going to let them die.
Now that I think about it, I think I always play like a rogue, even if I'm playing like a spellcaster.
Oh, you do?
Yeah. I feel like I always play like I'm a rogue. Like, I want to stay a little bit back, a little bit out of the scenes and get hits in. I don't really want to be up and close. I would rather, like, get hits in from afar. Even when I'm playing like a spellcaster, I always, like, I want to be a little, like, I got the sneaky spells with me. I got the big hitting spells with me, but I'd like to stay away from the danger.
Mm-hmm. Elijah is more or less that way, too. I mean, he's a ranger. He's a frontline fighter, but you've got, you're sure to take Zephyr Strike. You're attacking with your bow when you need to.
Yeah, I do like to play it like that, where I'm like, I got to assess the situation first. I don't know exactly what's going to go on here. And also, I know that at low level, Elijah can't take all the hits.
No.
No, at this point, if I had gone in right away, Elijah probably would have been down and maybe died.
Yeah,
so
he's just a ranger.
Yeah.
Taking us back to the house rules, you actually made me think of something. You were talking about taking those hits. We talked about fighting spirit before, but there was actually one house rule that Zach had used one time, and I really loved it. I want to say it was Zach and not Seth. At level 1, we actually, instead of having level 1 hit points, had level 2 hit points. And I loved that. It didn't feel...
That was in Saltmarsh.
Well, yeah, it was. It was a little weird leveling up and not getting those extra hit points. But at level 1, you don't feel like you're just going to get crit and absolutely get decimated.
Yeah, I think the reason you wanted to do that, Zach, was to make sure that, you wanted to plan a harder encounter and make it so our lives weren't on the line the whole time, which they still were.
Yeah, my failing as a DM is I just always want just a little too much, and so I'll throw it in there anyway. But I plan accordingly usually. I believe that, and anyone feel free to correct me if I'm wrong. If you're just the biggest XP to level 3 fan, but I'm pretty sure he mentioned that rule in one of his videos on YouTube. So. Credit to him there, but fantastic idea, and I think I'm going to use it anytime I start at level 1.
I think I'm just never going to start at level 1. I think level 3 is my sweet spot now, where I'm like, okay, level 3 allows us to start with characters who have a little more experience on the table. I think that level 1 to level 3, a lot of times when we're making those characters, unless, you're specifically at our table, justifying the reasons why you would grow that quickly to like, oh, I went from all of a sudden being like this very brand new cleric on the block to all of a sudden having all these like cool, but maybe cleric's not the best example. Or even wizard. Like I have 2 spells I know a couple little abilities, and all of a sudden 3 sessions later, I have like level 2 spells, a bunch of extra spell slots. I'm getting really strong, and it's only been like 2 days in game. So it's a little harder for me to justify, and if there's one thing you guys know about me as a DM, I like justification and I like story. So when it comes to starting games, I think level 3 is the sweet spot because you've already got your subclass, you're already pretty strong, and you can write a story that justifies that to me beforehand. Now, maybe one day we'll start at level 1 again, and it'll be like along the lines of just wanting to like start lower. Maybe you guys are starting as like more guard type, peasant type of characters if you wanted, or like a mage apprentice, and then it makes plenty of sense. But I think I typically like you guys to start as characters that are looking for a little more action, a little more seasoned.
Yeah, it really depends on the kind of story you want to tell, I think, because when I start campaigns, I almost want it to be like the beginning of a JRPG,
right?
Where everyone is, just a common folk with a special knack for something,
right.
Something that makes you unique, something that makes you an adventurer, and then whatever circumstances just happen to come along, and now you're forced to adapt and grow on the fly.
Yeah,
and that's what makes you a hero. But you could very easily, do something that's a lot more grounded in realism, where this hardened group of level 3 adventurers, they understand what living as an adventurer is like, and it's taken them years to get to this point, which makes a lot more sense if you really think about it.
Right. And that's my one problem is like specifically with Elijah now. I'm planning for like I want him to have a story arc, but I want it to make sense for him. We've only played like 3 sessions of Saltmarsh, and he can get Searing Smite now. I have this whole like story arc in my head of like him learning the different elements, but he can get Searing Smite now. And I'm like, so in session 4 I could have my fire spell and I could have 3 of my 4 elements down, but I don't want it yet.
Of course not.
Where I'm like, no, I don't want it yet. I want him to take time to learn it. So I have a little idea for that of like taking time, like having the spell there, but like not using it for a while until like the moment is ready. And I'm like,
of course.
Now I'll whip it out, the fire spell.
If you want to have a talk about that, we might be able to house rule something about it. Maybe on the fly, you can swap it out for something if, just depending on the
It's not that big a deal because I only have like a couple spell slots anyways.
Right.
And most of them will probably be used for like Zephyr Strike and Cure Wounds. And now I have like Charm Person and other spells. But yeah, no, that's something I was thinking about. I was like, oh, well, I can get Searing Smite now, but I don't want to just whip out a fire spell next session. Like, oh yeah, I can do this now. And that's my problem with him growing so fast, like with leveling up. I'm just like, no, slow down. I'm not ready yet.
We were talking about this earlier. It's actually the reason I like my current druid character in Saltmarsh is because he absolutely would just start dropping those abilities.
Right.
Of course I have these abilities. Did you not understand the level of enlightenment I've brought? The idea like he turned into a wolf last session. You can wild shape? Of course.
I could do it all along.
How did you not know?
The moment didn't call for it.
Yeah, I do like that about Simoon as well. I like to RP like all of my characters' growth. That's like something I've always done. Since I was like Schmidt, I had him like when he attuned to his magic item, like I had him practicing with it beforehand.
And I love to do that too, and that's kind of my stance on why I like level 1 is because I had that experience as Morwyn where he's never taken a life, and whenever he does, it'll be in game.
Yeah, he could do that at level 3 though too, because
yeah.
he still hadn't taken a life from 1 to 5.
True, yeah.
So he could still do that at level 3, where it's like, okay, I'm a paladin. I've trained at the Spires of the Morning in Waterdeep or Neverwinter. Waterdeep. I'm correct. So he trained at the Spires of the Morning. He's got enough power to go on this journey, and something happens to happen that sends him on it. But he's still just like, no, I don't want to do it. I don't want to take a life type deal.
For sure. On an entirely different topic, one of our most commonly used house rules, and one that I'm about to use right after this recording, is dice. So when you're rolling up your character, roll for stats. What house rules do we use, Drew? I'm gonna pick on you.
You got
so
a
you
quiz.
Can talk. Yeah.
Quiz.
It's C. Is it C?
Yeah.
Oh.
All right. How do we roll stats?
So, I guess it depends on who you're talking to at the table, because I think everyone rolls a little bit differently.
Nope. Zach and I do it the exact same.
Well, it's just me then, does a little bit differently. But for you guys, normally you guys roll 4d6, correct?
Yep.
You take the 3 highest numbers, add them together, and you do that 6 times.
Yep.
After you roll all 6 of your stats, if you do not like them, you're welcome to do a mulligan, which I'm not sure what mulligan comes from. It might be Magic the Gathering, to be perfectly honest.
It's just any card game. If you mulligan in a card game or something, that means you're taking your hand, putting it back, and getting it again. You can do that in, like, poker.
I'm pretty sure that word has been used in games for, like, hundreds and hundreds of years. I feel like it's a golf term.
We made it up.
But, don't quote me on that. I'm not smart. I just talk on the internet.
But yeah, once you roll all your stats there, if they're really really bad, or you just really want bad stats and they're really good, you can choose to re-roll all of them, and you must take the new rolls. I believe sometimes you guys allow a point buy at that point, which you could reset it and go with that option.
I mean, I would allow someone if they ask me if they can do a point buy instead. I would be like, yeah, sure. Usually point buy statistically is going to be lower stats than if you were to get good rolls or like get decent rolls, average. But yes, you're correct. If you roll 46, take the 3 highest, as Drew said, 6 times, you can put them in any stats you want, and if you have 2 negative stats, you're allowed to re-roll one of those. If you still don't like your results, you can mulligan for me. Like, go back, redo it all, but you got to take those new rolls if you're doing it. And if you still hate your results, I'll let you do a point buy. You're just going to have slightly lower stats than everyone else.
Yeah, and I think this is born from when we're making characters. We don't want anyone to be under the curve. We want to be average or better. Because honestly, like, I get the ideal of it's totally random and you may just have a shitty character that you have to work with, champ. But that's not fun. If I'm going to dedicate weeks and months and years of my life to this
I'm not
character,
letting you play 2 years with a character who doesn't have over a 14.
Yeah, exactly. So we can make random work, but you need at least enough stats to make your character work.
Right.
So that's...
I'm even willing to give you a number for like one of them. Like, hey, you rolled average with 2 negatives and then you re-rolled a negative. I'll give you 116 to put wherever you want if you're okay with keeping that,
Yeah.
I'd be okay with that. Stats for me are the least important thing about D&D. I mean, stats are important, yes, when it comes to your roles and whatnot, but when it comes to character creation, I care more about your character as long as they are what you envisioned. I want whatever you envisioned in your head to come to life. So let's make that happen.
Mm-hmm. Agreed, yeah. And maybe that would be a good thing to workshop, is maybe just like a slightly, improved bell curve on the point buy.
Yeah.
Or maybe instead of, like, we do just a regular point buy, but everyone gets a feat at level 1, not just variant humans, something
I can
like
see that. Everyone getting a feat, or, yeah, like you said, slightly up the point buy amount. So, like, hey, you have, what is it, normally like 36? Points or something like that.
I just do it online.
Yeah, I do too. But something like that, upping it to 40 if that's the actual number.
Right.
But giving them a couple more points to deal with, and still not having them be able to go over a certain number.
See, this little bit of variance in all the abilities. That's actually why I roll my stats just a tad bit differently, and I picked this up. I think it was a few months ago, just for the reason that I played with a lot of newer players, and I hate the idea that someone rolls their stats and their character is underpowered.
Yeah.
They're less cool than some of the other ones at the table. Or the idea that they have a really, really cool theme for their character that they want to work out. Like, a barbarian monk, where you need a whole bunch of very specific stats, and it just doesn't work out. Or worse, you roll like 3 or 4 negatives, in which case your character's unplayable. So my ruling is, if you roll a negative number, you're good. If you roll any dice after that negative has been rolled, if it's a 1, you can re-roll it. So let's say the first number you roll is a 6. That's your negative number out of your stats. Any 1 you roll for the rest of your stat rolling can be re-rolled.
Okay, that's not bad.
I think it's a very slight boost. It limits the possibilities that you can't have or you can't attain, and especially for newer players, it makes them feel just a tad bit more powerful.
Yeah, and they don't even get that roll unless they get a negative, right?
That's true. So there's a possibility it may not help you at all, but it covers your butt if you do roll poorly.
Yeah, and you're not going to get any more 1s. So that's nice. I mean, I like that. It doesn't sound broken. It doesn't sound like you're going to get crazy, insane stats, and it works.
Yeah, and just speaking from experience, I have DM'd for newer players, and they did get low stats. And, I tried to, silver tongue it. Well, okay, but what if we just let you do a point buy instead? And they said, no, I want my bad stats. So that's happened before, and it's just not a lot of fun.
Yeah.
It's not fun for me to see them fail just because of their stats.
Right.
When they had a good idea and they said, yeah, I would like to do this. And I say, yeah, go ahead and roll that D20. And they say, Does a 10 do it? No, I'm sorry, it doesn't.
Yeah.
And you're not going to be getting more than that.
One of the saddest things is to see a player who really, really wants to get into the game. They're playing for the first time. They're playing their brand new Barbarian, and the Barbarian has, a 12 strength.
Jeez.
It's gotta
I
be
hate
hard.
it.
Absolutely difficult.
I would not allow that. I'd say, you know what? If you want to play at my table, roll again.
So last but not least for our house rules, I think, is how we do inspiration right now. I think we'll still mess with it a little bit, but how we're currently doing inspiration is Cardic inspiration. We mentioned XP to level 3 before, and this is something he mentioned a while back. Whenever something cool happens in the game, someone pulls off some really cool role play. I'm just very happy in that session, and someone does something slightly interesting, and I go, oh, yeah, here's one. I give out a Cardic inspiration. So we have a deck of cards, and a 10 in all face cards are 10s. You can add to any roll, and anything less than that is the number written. An ace is 1, or it was an ace 10.
I feel an ace is 10.
Okay, yeah, ace can be 10. And then all of the numbers are as written. So 2, 3, 4, 5, all the way up to 10 are just as they are on the card. It's fun. It lets the party gain things together and then add the rolls whenever they feel that it's the most important moment, which has gotten them out of a couple of tight spots. Especially, there was one where someone was about to get feeble-minded, and they were like, oh, we don't really know what spell this is. It might be this spell. Not sure. Let's use the card to be safe. And also, I feel like you guys don't hoard them as much. Like, oh, I really got to save this. So if I was to give out individual inspiration, and let's be honest, not everybody would get that much inspiration because not everybody does interesting things if we were doing it individually.
It's true.
So the reason I'm doing the Cardic one is, okay, you guys are earning this as a group.
Yeah, and I was very adverse to that at first because as a player, I like that rush of, okay, I haven't had inspiration in a while. This session, I'm going to do something that Seth likes. And I'm going to get that inspiration. But over time, I think I have come around to Cardic inspiration. I like that it's encouraging team play and team thinking, whereas individual inspiration is more just like a pat on the back for one player in particular.
I don't think any of us liked that Beryl got inspiration almost every session because he always did something fun and interesting, and that Daluth barely got any as we played the game. So I didn't like that at all, where I was like, oh, I feel like I'm being unfair, but Beryl's doing all the interesting stuff.
Inspiration, when handled poorly, can feel like the DM is just playing favorites.
Right. And I never felt like I was. It just always ended up that way.
Right. And I'm not saying you did,
No,
but
of course.
I could easily see it getting out of hand where, oh, so you're going to give your girlfriend inspiration again?
Well, I'm sorry. She was role-playing very well with the tiefling.
Uh-huh. Sure.
Sure. You never give me inspiration.
Exactly.
You know what? I'm going to completely agree with Zach here. I was very scared to use this at first, and now the idea of not using Cardic inspiration is very scary to me. I would hate the idea of going back to the regular role, selfish inspiration that, frankly, I just never used, and the reason I would use it is to make sure that I could get a new one at the end of the session if I did something kind of cool.
The only other option I'm thinking of right now that I would go with is giving inspiration dies to the table. I like the team inspiration that we have right now only because of what we talked about. Not all of the players at our table would get inspiration all the time. Sometimes it's hard for a character the way it's written to be interesting. I don't think unless a certain situation comes up that unless I'm giving inspiration every time Pyth casts a cool spell, I can give Pyth inspiration all the time. But our boisterous members like Oswin, and I guess Adonis kind of will be very funny at this point. Those two are going to collect a lot of inspiration because they are the faces. It used to be Nuth. I'm not sure how Adonis will play, but now I would say Oswin would just get a lot of inspiration and no one else would.
Right.
So I think I'm going to keep it as is for just like the team gets inspiration. But I've toyed around with some other ideas in my head of, wow, that's a lot of Fates cards. They're going to be adding a lot of 10s to rolls. Maybe I could be like, hey, here's a D10. Use it as you guys please. Add it to any roll like a Bardic inspiration. Just like, hey, there you go. I'm giving that to you guys. I'm going to keep it at the table. It's my D10. Just leave it over there. And whenever you guys want to add it to a roll, you can do that.
Yeah, and I do like that it feels that that's a little bit more in the spirit of the game where we leave it up to chance even when, you've got that extra security. Because with Cardic Inspiration, if there's a situation that we're just saying, nope, this is awful, but that's perfectly fine, I'm not scared at all, because I can add, we can add up all our cards and
Yeah.
get plus 16 to this. So no matter what you roll, you're going to be okay, bud.
Yeah.
Leaving it up to fate, it does feel a little bit more, adventurous.
Yeah, exactly. So I like the idea. Not sure if we'll change it anytime soon. We don't have any Cardic Inspiration out right now, so not a huge deal. And with the arcs, I think Drew and I had a conversation about this because he was asking me. He was like, "Why can we only use the card in this arc? Why couldn't we keep it for the next one?" And my justification, I said, is because I don't want a card that Doorknob earned to go to whatever other character, basically. Where I'm thinking, oh, he earned this for this group of characters, and it feels weird to me that Oswin has extra luck for something Doorknob, a character he's never met, did.
Yeah.
And so that's why I was like, you try to use it this session, guys, because I don't want it to be in the next arc. Just because, I don't know, it's not part of the same story to me in my head.
Yeah, it sort of goes back to metagaming, right? Does
Right.
inspiration exist in the world? And if so, how does that work? Maybe Cardic Inspiration is the team dynamic, bringing
Yeah.
everyone together, rather than, individual inspiration just being my amazing character overcoming all odds,
Right.
So I agree with that ruling. I'm fine with it.
Yeah, because Drew was like, well, I don't see it as a problem. And it's just in my story brain, where I'm always thinking about writing things and stories, I was like, I just can't. It just doesn't work in my brain, where there's a 7 on the table, and because that was the one that Doorknob got from the Lich. And I was like, it just doesn't make sense in my head. It just can't happen.
And I totally get that. I think where I'm coming from is I don't think of inspiration as a specific character thing anymore.
Right.
I think the team earned that card.
Right.
And we are, regardless if we earned it, going to decide as a team where we use that card.
Right.
And so that's where I was coming from, in a sense that we earned this card. Why is it now being taken away?
Right. We already talked about it, so we've already had this conversation, but as so the audience knows, my justification in rebuttal to that was it's a different team though. Oswin and this group are different than Pyth and that group. So yeah, I'm glad it went the way it did. It came in handy in that last encounter anyways with the +7 to whatever it happened. But yeah, Cardic Inspiration is cool. I like it. Probably going to toy around with it a little bit and maybe start handing out dice instead of cards. And that's about that. Do we have any other house rules that we use?
No, there was one that I came up with a long time ago. Well, I should mention we do allow non-lethal damage irregardless of what weapon you want to use. So
yeah, unless it's a lethal spell by nature. I'd say a firebolt you could aim a little bit more non-lethally. But say if you're like legitimately poisoning someone or putting a shit ton of necrotic damage into someone's veins,
yeah,
you're probably not going to be able to aim a Toll of the Dead to not kill someone. It's probably just going to kill them.
Yeah, you divine smite the vampire. I'm sorry, it's not going to survive.
Yeah,
it
it's not
turns to dust.
Yeah, exactly. So there are certain weapons and damage types that I'm like, oh, well, that doesn't really work that way. So, well, we'll say it has to kill him unless you shoot a bow at a certain spot on him that has like an enchantment on it. But if you shoot someone or if you poison someone and you kill them with poison damage, they're poisoned and dead.
But Seth, I didn't say power word kill. I said power word sleep. Sleep.
Oh.
You just misheard me on that one.
Power word faint.
Yep, that's it.
That was some nice harmony back there. I just want to
Yeah.
call that out.
Music and theater majors. You know them.
Uh-huh.
You love them.
We also will allow you to do bludgeoning damage if you want to hit with the blunt end of your weapon.
Yeah, I kind of want to change it around a little bit.
Yeah, I also would like to do that.
Where, like, if you're hitting him with the blunt end of a longsword, you're not doing longsword damage. You're doing, like, a D6 or a D4 instead of a D12. Just because, well, you're not hitting them with something that you're great with. You're hitting them with the blunt edge of something. Like, it should do, like, club damage at that point.
Yeah, and I would absolutely agree to that. Especially, like, for a rapier. Like, at that point, you're punching them. That's an unarmed strike.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Maybe with, like, knuckles on it instead. So it's still bludgeoning damage, but yeah. One other thing that I've always done in my campaigns, I think Zach mostly does it too, is allowing players to make checks in combat without really making them use an action or bonus action for it. So I'll allow if someone says, hey, can I make a perception check really quick? Just so if it's in the middle of they're making a decision, they're standing by a hallway and they're not sure if anyone's coming from that way. and they're deciding whether they need to run up closer to protect that hallway, can I make a perception check really quick just to decide this thing? Do I hear more footsteps coming down the hallway? They roll, I let them do the check, and then they can take their turn. Just because I feel like their character's listening already. Sometimes I can go all passive perception, but the perception check is a little more fun to me anyways. If they hear something coming down the hallway, great. Now they'll stand and protect that. If they roll too low, they're not really sure. They have to make the decision on their own. Or if they roll like high enough, they don't hear anything. Now they're gonna go charge the boss. I like them being able to make checks like that. Sometimes an insight check, even like the demeanor of a boss as they're like facing it down, just to see if they're like feeling good, if they're these hits are working on them, if they're in a bad mood or a great mood, kind of getting their demeanor down. So I'll allow certain checks like that in the middle of combat, a medicine check on a party member without making you waste your action on it.
Yeah, I mean, at that point, that's just flavor, because I could easily ask Drew, hey, how many hit points are you at? But if we want to flavor it in character, go ahead and make a medicine check, Oswin. Do you know what height's at?
Yeah, I was meaning more so for, that in that way. I was just meaning more so for enemies specifically.
Yeah. If you want to say, all right, Seth, how's he looking? Go ahead and make a medicine check for me.
Right. And realistically, you could probably see the blood on him all over the place anyways.
Yeah.
But, maybe you can't.
Well, I think that in a fantasy world, a barbarian being covered in blood means nothing to you.
Right.
Because they're still going.
Making the medicine check, though, would get absolutely deadly to me, because you guys would be like, okay, I'm going to make a medicine check to see how he's doing. Or Sean would specifically be like, I want to see make a medicine check to see how he's doing. Pretty often.
Yeah.
Because he was the one who asked the question the most. Like, how's he looking? And I'd be like, I don't like those words. Those words annoy me.
Yeah, I would probably limit it. So if we're going to say it's not an action, then it's not an action once.
Yeah.
But if that's what you're focused on in this combat and you're thinking about it for more than that split second, then that's your action.
Yeah.
I
mean, and I'm not talking shit about Sean here, because Sean usually says it in context of, am I dealing my deadly blow right now?
Yeah.
Where it's like, all right, am I going to go pull out all the stops because I want to kill it? That's usually the context he uses in, like, how's it looking? Because I want to kill it. Mm-hmm. It's not usually, how's it looking? Because I'm really worried about living and dying. It's, I just really want to kill this thing.
It always is.
Yeah.
What kind of stop should I bring out? Should I go all out on this thing right now, use all of my flavor and cool points, or do I wait till next turn?
Exactly.
I think there's one more thing I want to bring up, and I've toyed with it a little bit, and maybe it's a little bit more controversial to the D&D community, but critical failures.
That's a great one to bring up.
Yeah, that is a good one to bring up.
So I've toyed with it a little bit, not grandly, but overall drawing a conclusion from it, just with little bits of damage, or people tripping and falling on a stealth check and hurting themselves, or something like that. People spraining their ankles at our table. Sometimes it could really, really enhance the gameplay.
Varys really did sprain his ankle.
So Varys rolled 3 nat 1s in a row. Drew, finish your explanation. I want to tell this story and talk about how I do critical failures. Go ahead.
Okay. Overall, I think it can really, really assist specifically newer players or players that are stuck in a bad situation. I've had a group stuck in a room for more than 20 minutes with no idea how to get out, which there was a very clear secret exit that you only had to roll above 12 to see it, but no one rolled higher than that. So
losers.
Eventually, one of them rolled a 1 on their investigation check, fell into the lever, hurt themselves at the door opened. Kind of a vibe.
Oh, that's fun.
So that was great. That got everything moving. People were laughing about it. They thought it was really funny. And I've also been in situations where someone nat 1'd in a very important battle, we'll say, where maybe they dropped their weapon down a small cliff, or they really hurt their leg and they could no longer escape the lava that's flowing into the room, killing the party. So it could really drag people down, or it could really help. I guess it just depends on how you use it.
So, Varys once rolled 3 nat 1s in a row. At first, normally when I do critical failures, I will just have them miss if it's just an offhand nat 1. Like, there's no way you're hitting it. I don't care what your modifier is or what it is. You're just not hitting it. You missed. Good for you. Varys rolled 3 in a row, so I had him step poorly onto his foot, on his back step, and sprain his ankle meaning that I halved his movement for the rest of combat until he had a short rest and healed. And it was funny, it was great, and we don't get a ton of nat ones at the table. Normally it's just like, oh, I rolled poorly. Maybe it's just because everybody has amazing dice. But Varys, Patrick, gets an abnormal amount of nat ones, where he usually gets 2 or 3 a session. And we're just used to it at this point.
Yeah.
I feel bad for being so used to it at this point.
You gotta wash the dice, man. I'm telling you, you have to wash them.
No, it's because they're metal dice, and he just rolls straight to the 1 every time. He's learned how to roll his metal dice, I think, and he just wants 1s.
I don't think that's true. He's disappointed every time.
When it comes to ability checks, I do not usually have them critical fail in that one. A creative situation like what you talked about could come up. But if someone has a plus 12 to an ability, like say they've got expertise and like maxed out stats, and they roll a 1, I still count it as a 13. Because I just feel like they're good enough at this skill to still get that roll. So I usually don't count it against it unless it's funny or creative. Now, otherwise, when enemies roll nat ones, I usually make it bad for them. When they're minions. When it's the boss specifically, I don't usually make it, where the boss cripples himself and is able to get hit 50 times in a row. Mm-hmm. But when it's like a minion, maybe a character with a bowstring in the back goes to pull it and they pull way too hard and it snaps and hits them in the face. They take like 2 points of damage for it. That's funny. That's fine to me. And I have toyed with the idea recently because I want nat ones to feel like more creative and fun. I just don't want to hurt the players too bad with them because, like I said, I like you guys to feel powerful until you don't. Because it's really fun for me to go 7 sessions where you guys have felt great and then you have the encounter. It's like, oh shit, we're in over our heads right now, boys. So I really like those moments. But I have toyed with the idea of making nat ones a little bit different, where maybe we go back, we do something like we did with the Steven rule, where you leave yourself open, and if there's an enemy in close proximity, and you take an opportunity attack. Like, you're open for 1, they don't have to use it, they don't have to use their reaction on it, but they can choose to use their reaction to hit you.
Yeah, no, I think that's a great rule for the nat 1. I think, personally, this is just sort of my taste, is nat 1s need to match the vibe.
Yeah.
So if we haven't been doing it that way for a while and someone rolls a nat 1, I'm not going to say, yeah, and then you take more damage on top of it,
right,
idiot. Or you shoot your friend in the back with your sharpshooter damage, and it does full damage.
Yeah, and I wouldn't want it to be as is right now. Right now, with hitting friends and stuff, I usually won't have you hit a friend. I'll just have you like misfire because you were trying to overcorrect too much. But what I do right now, the only time you'll hit a friend is if an enemy is using you for like cover or like has you hostage, and you still decide to shoot in that direction and roll below the enemy's AC because you have aimed for that enemy and missed and hit your friendly.
And at that point, it makes sense.
Yeah, that's usually how I justify hitting other players. But whenever you're rolling and you miss, I just assume you were trying your best not to hit them, and that's why you missed.
No, that makes perfect sense. I like the idea that it promotes that strategic combat too.
Yeah. Something more that I'd like to use a little more often is cover for players and enemies and keeping it in mind. So maybe not making it vocal, but if an enemy has 15 AC and there are multiple people surrounding it and Oswin takes a shot from way back here, making it so he has 17 AC for the shot. Like, just because it's something I never really think about, and maybe it could like make encounters more interesting. But I almost never think about it in the time. But then the player will bring it up and be like, well, since I'm behind this person, do I have half cover? And I'm like, yes. I almost always say yes. So the enemy should get it too. I just never think about it.
Cover is Zach's favorite rule that we don't use. So when I DM, I say, yep, and they have cover, and you have cover, and let's everyone make sure that you know the cover situation, because it's very beneficial for you and beneficial for the enemies as well.
Yeah. So I might start thinking about that more often and having enemies like take cover without really making it known. Just like, nope, you missed. I thought you said it was 15 AC. Well, he's got cover right now. So that's something I like a little bit more, and then we can use it more aggressively for the players when that's happening.
Yeah, and then Oswin can use sharpshooter and negate all cover.
Yeah,
Oh.
so it doesn't even matter for Oswin. So who cares? Who cares?
I care. I
'Cause I
want you
did-
to say he has cover, and then I want to say no, he does not.
That happened once. I think right before the Zariel fight, where you guys went to go shoot something, and I said, "Oh no, he's got 3/4 cover," and you went, "Oswin doesn't. Oswin ignores all cover," and I went,
Ooh.
"It does hit."
Yep. I feel like that was against our Amnesu friend.
Oh yes. That was fun.
See, that's why as a low-level wizard, when you're in a bar fight, you jump over the counter, even though the bartender is telling you to leave. Like, no, I have to be back here. DM, don't forget, I have full cover. I'm crouched behind the bar.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess that's fair.
You don't have cover from a fireball though. That spreads around corners,
Yeah, but I've never seen a fireball before. No one's ever cast that.
especially not in a bar.
No, there's
No.
no way.
That'd be a perfect place to cast a fireball.
I don't want to
Get
think
it?
of that though.
Get it?
I do.
I
Yeah,
knew you didn't at first though.
Yeah, because alcohol's flammable.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
Thank you guys so much for listening to this episode of Table Talk Friday, one that was running quite long, I will say, when we thought we weren't even going to record that long today. We were all pretty tired. Anyways, if you would like to follow us on Twitter, you can find us at Table Talk Friday. Send us an email at tabletalkfriday@gmail.com. DM us on Twitter if you'd like to ask any questions, comments, concerns, or even tell us of your cool house rules that you use, ones that you've used in the past, or ones you absolutely despise. With that, let's go ahead and have a character that one of you made in the house take us out.
I think you mean take us home, because it's homebrew. Home is where the heart is, my boy. Money.
Thank you for listening to Table Talk Friday. For more information, advice, questions, comments, and concerns, you can email the boys at tabletalkfriday@gmail.com. And if you'd like to tell your own stories, why don't you hit them up there? Send an inquiry or something, a sending spell. Thank you very much for listening, and please follow and come back next week. Goodbye. Bye-bye.